Let's see, live novel edit. Yeah, so I don't actually know. Let's see. This is listed as upcoming. Excellent connection, day 2. Okay, cool. So it lists as being live. Do I have to do this not made for fucking kids every single time? Fucking YouTube. All right, let's see here. Shout outs to the Jupers. All right, what do we got? Is my restream chat live? Hold on. I'm helping. Yeah, so if you see the like chats coming through there, um, although I don't see the although Twitch might not have connected yet. Yeah, it's online. So we're trying to set up the scoreboard once some more. I forget what I had to do last time to like make this. Oh, I know. So that's the scoreboard showy thing is like is this button right here. Ah, so it tries to pull up a web page that no longer exists. I like that. This is actually like a dope fucking effect. I should just keep that and not deal with the other. Okay, so we're on day 2 here. I'm gonna start the our intro music and let everybody know this is going on. No. Just like that. Man, I can't get enough of that intro, to tell you the truth. I mean, there's a peculiar art to making an intro for a show or whatever. It's got to be something for something like this that'll run on for at least 20 days, probably closer to like 30 or, like, God forbid, 40. But it's got to be something that you don't mind staring at it time and time again. I can't hear the music, unfortunately, while I'm sitting here, which is a shame because it's a lovely piece right there. Just as I was like looking at the sheet music for it, I was like, I don't know if I will ever in my life be able to play something like this. There's so many notes, just like, it's wild, man. Yeah, shout outs to me for being too lazy as a child to ever have any follow through with any kind of music lessons or whatever. They were definitely available to me. I was just like, now I want to go home and play with my action figures. So shout outs to Jewbird, who says, the last time you did this stream, my comment to play the DDoS King and all my corrections were rejected. Feeling skeptical about this. Yeah, like I don't really take requests for the DOS King on this. Yeah, I really fell ass backwards into that. The way that I found it was by going to like MuseOpen and searching for sad music, and just finding one that was about the length of the intro, and it just turned out that Winter Wind by Chopin, Chopin, I think. Lord, I don't know how to say fucking anything. Why am I on a stream where I read things? That piece was like the perfect length, and honestly, like really evoked the feel of what I wanted for the thing. So shout outs to yeah, your boy. So I don't think I have the COVID, by the way. I can still smell. Just my bronchial tubes do not like this dry winter air one fucking bit. Never have. And I always drink coffee in the morning and just feel wretched. Oh, thank you for updating the thing. Yeah, YouTube really made it kind of a pain in the ass with your shortcuts and so forth there. So people are asking, how's the storm? The storm is actually, I just, every morning I've been taking like a little walk before I write or edit to like clear my mind. And I just see what's going on in Bed-Stuy in the early hours of the morning. There's so many people out shoveling right now because they'll never get ahead of it. Snow, this is the most snow that I've seen us get here in the time that I've been in New York. It really is like a Chicago level of snow. I mean, to anybody in like fucking Albany or Maine or Connecticut or whatever, this level of snow isn't shit. And honestly, like I haven't seen anybody like freaking out and tearing their clothes off and running naked through the streets and dying of hypoxia, which is a shame. That's the first thing that I want to see. So a couple of things on the update here. I am not going to shave until until we're completed with this edit, or not shaving would preclude me from getting laid. So I don't think that there's a huge danger of that in the next 28 days or so. But just in case, I want to give myself an out. But yeah, I'm not going to shave. You will see me getting increasingly more haggard. And I think today I am going to try and go read chapter 2, if my voice holds. But try and read chapter 2 of Lemon Maybe out there in the snow. So we'll see what comes of that. But it may just be too cold. 28 days. I mean, yeah, you know, like actually we only got 27 left at this point in the shortest month of the year. Black History Month, boys. But shout out to Logic for being a part. Wow, we already got some people on the stream right here. 6 people watching. It used to be that we would have just a shit ton of people stumble in through Periscope, but Periscope is no more. Killing me. Although I think my other stream still goes there, so I should try and figure out how to get that scope running once more. But you know, we'll see. What do we got right here? So I think we're about ready to get into chapter 2 here. So in chapter 1, we got kind of introduced to a few different things. I can't believe I like managed to just like insert the text of the dictabulka in the text, and it feels relatively natural. I don't feel like that's jutting or jarring. One of the things that I want to make clear or make sure of as we're going through this edit is, even though this is military science fiction and it's written for that audience there, we wanted to have cross-platform appeal, so we don't want to load people down with too much jargon or too many battles. Or most people will just see this shit and they'll just like read right over it. They'll skim right over it. It's like poetry in a fantasy novel. It's like, this fucking author jacking himself off. You know, yeah, like I always thought it was like tremendously. If you're not Tolkien, what are you doing putting like songs and poems and stuff like that in your poem? Like people just want their like wish fulfillment and like their magic sword and their dragons and unicorns and such like. They don't give a shit about your poems. Ugh. I say that, but I got poems of my own in my own books. Everything I decry, I'm usually guilty of. What is it? I was talking about how I hated time travel stories uh, the other day, and I was definitely working on one the last time I was in Ireland. So I just want, yeah, hot elven princesses, indeed. Oh, that's a legacy of a misspent youth right there. But before I was so rudely distracted there, I was getting to somewhere, but now it's gone, swept away by a torrent of time. So let's get down to it here. This is chapter 1 of XEROS. I think there are like 20 chapters of this total, and we're definitely going to get through at least one a day. We'll see if I build up my strength or whatever. I'm not feeling optimistic about my voice, though. I got like a terrible frog in my throat. Might pop up and get some water after about an hour of this. Other than that, nothing crazy going on right here. I learned, I did some reading yesterday about how keto can kind of make your blood acidic, and how for most people that manifests in like them thinking they got VD or whatever. So apparently you have to like eat alkaline foods to deal with the fact that it's going on. And I am trying to lose a bit of weight here, and ketosis is like the shit that's worked for me in the past. So yeah, I'm gonna have to like be like pissing on pH strips and like figuring out whatever. But it did track with my experience. The last time that happened to me, I thought I had like the worst VD of all time, but it turned out that it's just if your blood gets a certain amount of acidic, it will start to irritate like all the mucous membranes in your body. You're in like ketoacidosis or whatever there, and I'm like an idiot. I just kept with this like implausible diet for like the longest time. But so there are kind of like some interesting things there. Paradoxically, drinking like lemon juice will actually sort it out, because by the time it becomes bioactive within the body, the lemon juice is no longer acidic. It becomes alkaline, which was kind of like fascinating to me. Just whatever reactions happening in the stomach as you were like metabolizing it. And things like milk and like dairy products and cheese and so forth definitely turn into like more acidic products. I guess the lactic acid in it is like, it's just really fascinating. Like there's, where this story is going to be all about the universe for the most part. Most of it's going to take place like way out there in space. But there's just like a whole universe of weird shit going on inside the body that I have no clue about. So, yeah. Yes, hello to Familia Spader right there, joining us on twitch.tv. Probably from the, I spam this on the writing server every day, or they just found us like ass backwards some way. So, yeah, welcome to the stream. This is only the first chapter of this novel. This is a completed novel. We will be editing it in its entirety, nonstop, doing like a chapter every single day. And it's a science fiction story about a prisoner named Traitor. So here we go. What is your crime? Sergeant XEROS demanded. I betrayed mankind. I collaborated with the enemy. What is your name? Traitor. The drill sergeant turned his back on me, and one by one the other inmates in the training flight followed suit. They did this every self-critique. All right. Let's change this up. So we're putting that into the drill sergeant turned his back on me. One by one, and then we need a comma there. One by one, the other inmates in the training flight followed suit. They did this every self-critique, and it always hurt. In a deep way no physical punishment could have. We don't need have. Okay. They did this every self-critique, and it always hurt. In a deep way, no physical punishment could. I have to hand it to XEROS. He was a master. Since that first painful day, I had hung on his every word. I believed the sermons. I hated myself for betraying the human race, and I was prepared to die to redeem myself. Then, the shine wore off. You're missing these commas, Logic. Although, like, I have a 30-second head start on Logic as the internet waves propagate through tubes and such like. Semicolon. I have to hand it to XEROS. Oh, fuck, that is a semicolon. Yeah, there you go. So Logic is getting a point here. So let's put in day. And if you're just joining us, we keep score of all the edits that go through here. What was I looking up here? Oh, this is Oswald Bolte. I was like, what's this Nazi shit up on my screen? But it's not even Nazi shit. It's just straight World War I Iron Cross before there even were Nazis. I'm not missing the commas, bro. But yeah, well, it's not a fair fight. Also, I wrote it. I should have gotten this right in the first place there. But yeah, so the reason that we're breaking this up, these are two related clauses, but they are interdependent, and they're also in different tenses. I have to hand it to XEROS. He was a master, which is something that I don't know if you're supposed to do that or not. The real editor may be like, get that shit out of there. But that's a legit semicolon. Okay, so here we're talking a little bit about how Trader is believing the hype, but then the shine wore off. I can remember the exact moment it happened. All right, so here you might fucking semicolon. There we go. And so these self-critiques and struggle sessions are lifted like straight out of a Cultural Revolution, China. Yeah, shout outs to Sixen Liu, who really got me interested in the period with some of the like girl with the flag or whatever the hell was going on in the first part of the three body problem. That really stuck with me. And as I started reading more into like the Cultural Revolution, I was just like, damn, they're not playing. What a wild time that must have been. And then, the same shit might happen here. So then the shine war. Yeah, we can just take out the shine wore off. I can remember the exact moment it happened. It was a few days after a struggle session. Sergeant XEROS was screaming in my face, howling at me about a pimple-sized divot of rust he'd discovered on a latrine pipe. It wasn't my job to clean this particular latrine. If it were, every millimeter would have been spotless. Yeah, so we're past tense there, and we need to have that in would have been. I was always squared away. The pipe shouldn't have rusted either. It was supposed to be stainless steel. But, as the war dragged on, it was harder. So here, but has to be separated from this, I think, time clause there. That may be... No, I'm not sure about that. Yeah. No, yeah, that's like a however, but where you do need the comma, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Logic. But as the war dragged on, it was harder and harder to find real parts. Not long ago, High Command had outlawed on-site fabricators across the entire Hezo Collective Prosperity Sphere. That's the name of their space empire right there. Not long ago, High Command had outlawed on-site fabricators across the entire Hezo Collective Prosperity Sphere. What a mouthful. They were trying to reestablish the old logistical chains, to spin up Asian factories, to revert to the old ways. That can just be end. And revert to the old ways. It wasn't going well at all. Too much had been forgotten. So, you learn a lot. You think no comma? Fuck. Right, I'm going to take your word for it and give you a point. I don't know. Oh, caught up with Spathywah there. Actually, we should highlight Spathywah and Stratum. Let's see. Is he even in the fucking chat? Yeah. Yeah. I forgot that's something that we do, or I used to do every. Hopefully, that's not fucking annoying to people. But yeah, their help is invaluable in this whole thing. I'm only like a third the editor I could be with those two there. So it was my job. So here you get to find out some things about the war effort, and as we're doing this, we're trying to evoke some of that Imperial Japan resources are running out and so forth type feeling here, where there's that desperation and like things are going so well, but now like we're running out of fuel oil and these fucking Filipinos keep rising up and MacArthur's knocking on our door. I want some of that to be in the story there. The trickle of spare parts we received were misshapen and rife with impurities. After a lifetime of molecularly immaculate environs, the shoddy wartime materials felt like a chipped tooth. I love that right there. A lifetime of molecularly immaculate. So I do have questions about environs here, which is us basically like abbreviating environments. Let me take a look at this word. Yeah. Okay. So.
Environs.
Yeah, let's stick with it. The narrator in this is kind of like up his own ass. Oh yeah, what a fucking coincidence. But I digress. So he this is going to be his voice throughout, a little bit full of himself and dropping them like $5 words at the turn of a hat. So yeah, I don't begrudge him environs. It must have been worse for the drills like Sergeant XEROS. Manifesting obsessive compulsive behavior was his entire job. I don't like Sergeant XEROS here. Man, it must have been worse for the drills. Manifesting obsessive compulsive behavior was their entire job. So we might have the word description in there, but I don't think that we're going to need to throw that in there. Let's go through this because we made some changes. The trickle of spare parts we received were misshapen and rife with impurities. After a lifetime of molecularly immaculate environs, the shoddy wartime materials felt like a chipped tooth. It must have been worse for the drills. Manifesting obsessive compulsive behavior was their entire job. And now we get into the part where everybody who went through boot camp can resonate with some of this shit. Shout outs to Logic, and I think that's just it in our studio audience here. But that's a time you'll never forget. I happened to be standing closest to Sergeant XEROS when he discovered the rusty latrine pipe, so I took the fall. I knew better than to argue. I stood at attention with my... Yeah, we don't need... With my eyes ahead? Why is that even there? I stood at attention as Sir... Because what we're trying to get is like that image of R.E.M.E. or whatever, the Full Metal Jacket dude. R.L.M.E. or... Post his name if you remember it. But that image of him like screaming into some like Gomer Pyle's ear. Well, I think it was actually Joker's ear. While he's like, doing that number. But yeah, many unnecessary words there. I stood at attention as Suro screamed in my ear. If I flinched, the next thing I would feel was his fist in my gut. Oh, yeah, you would. Arlie Emmy. Arlie Ermy, rather. All right, well, maybe I won't forget that next time. The next thing I would feel was his fist in my gut. See, I told you it would get homoerotic in a hurry. If the punch dropped me, there would be a sharp boot in the ribs to follow it. Yeah, it doesn't need to be a sharp boot. If the punch dropped me, there would be a boot in the ribs to follow it up. That was how XEROS operated. I'd only caught the follow-up boot once, and that was enough for me. It hurt to breathe for an entire week afterward. So, yeah, if you've ever been booted in the ribs, that kind of sharp twinge every single time you take a breath, that's no fun in the sun. So, the first guy canceled by Hollywood for being Republican. Did he really? I thought he was just an actual drill sergeant and had no career whatsoever. And he was just in that one film. God, Lord have mercy on Arlie Ermy. Sergeant XEROS circled. We don't need. Sergeant XEROS circled as he berated me. Yeah, it has to be circled around me. It doesn't work the other way. Sergeant XEROS circled around me as he berated me. It was unusual to get chewed out for so long, especially for such a minor infraction. There was an outsized tension in his voice. More than the fuck-up merited. No, that doesn't sound right either. Yeah, let's just cut that. Yeah, we say it before in the line before. So this is my biggest problem as a writer is repeating myself, which is, this is like a lifetime of radio there, just like drilling concepts in over and over and over again. Hyphen and chewed out. Yeah, chewed out is. There we go. Take the lead there, Logic, because Spathy was slipping. There was an outsized tension in his voice. I don't like outsized either, as our. Yeah. See, this works out. The word inordinate fits a little bit better there to me because we're trying to establish yeah, I'm used to getting yelled at, but not like this. What's his fucking problem? So that's what's happening right there. If I were allowed to speak, hold on, let me read through this again. Just have to be getting back into the edit. When we make major changes to a paragraph, it needs to be read again. So Sergeant XEROS circled around me as he berated me. It was unusual to get chewed out for so long, especially for such a minor infraction. There was an inordinate tension in his voice. Perfect. If I were allowed to speak, I could have told XEROS I felt the same way he did. I hated the incompetence. I hated to see things that should be strong crumbling. That should always be strong crumbling around us. I hated to see things that should always be strong crumbling. I hated being a prisoner sealed in this barracks. I hated the other inmates who were always screwing up and pulling me down with them. I hated myself. Sergeant XEROS came to a halt with his gray eyes searing me, the tip of his nose a millimeter from mine. We are in a war for survival, a war for our existence, and you can't keep a toilet clean. A fucking toilet. A fleck of spit. Should it be spit or spittle? Spittle. A fleck of spittle struck me in the eye as XEROS screamed in my face. No comma. I winced, turning my face slightly aside. What an error. I was certain he would clobber me for it. So this is italics, because it is a in this paragraph you use I 8 times. Is that being picky? Let's take a look. I. So this paragraph is like, really, it's like a list that this guy is reading off, and he needs to include himself as like in each one of these sentences because these sentences are about him. So let's try it a couple of different ways. If I were, and part of why you're picking up on that is like I enunciated I like very strongly in the first two reads, which is not how the audiobook reader would do it. If I were allowed to speak, I could have told XEROS I felt the same way he did. I hated the incompetence. I hated to see things that should always be strong crumbling. I hated being a prisoner sealed in this barracks. I hated the other inmates who were always screwing up and pulling me down with them. I hated myself. So there's quite a few I's up in there. We could read it. If I were allowed to speak, I could have told XEROS that I felt the same way he did. I hated the incompetence, to see things that should always be strong crumbling. I hated being a prisoner sealed in this barracks, and the other inmates who were always screwing up and pulling me down with them. I hated myself. So just from like a how things proceed, I like it better with the eyes. To tell you the truth, I like the way that each one of those eyes is like a punctuation, like tap 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 tap. And it is a little. You're 100% right to call it out because I think it's going to catch the ear, and may pull readers out of the suspension of disbelief. But to me, it sounds okay. So one of the things that's interesting is the more times, like if somebody's talking about a story or whatever, the more times they include the word I within the story, generally, the less confident they are, the less like self-assured that person is, the more they need to assert their own existence because it's not a given to them. For the most part, you'll see like very confident people when they're describing a situation. It's much more about the situation because the fact of their own existence is like firmly established in their mind, and they don't need to remind people I all the time. There, in the case of this character, he does not have that confidence. Like this character, I wouldn't call them meek, but they're like very much an outsider, even amongst the other inmates and so forth. So it just like on a very like small level, I like where that goes there. So that's why we include all those eyes. But it is something where a more experienced editor might take a look at that and be like, nah, you're pulling people's eyes to your eyes, and like that's a problemo. But this happened to me, by the way. Yeah, like I was getting chewed out, and he's like, "You are the worst, blah blah blah. You don't deserve to be in the Air Force." Literally said that to me, and I was just standing there. I was in front of the entire formation too. He like called me up on stage to yell at me, and I was like, "Sir, you're spitting on me." Like, exactly like that. I just did not give a fuck. He's like, "I don't care." He's like screaming and everything, and he just completely lost his bearing, and I kept mine because I didn't give a shit at that point. And that was like part of the legend of Airman ZYZ that was retold for years to come. Was just that moment where I was just so unmoved by this guy spitting directly on me, which I hadn't thought about in like a number of years there. But I used to do all kinds of crazy shit in the Air Force, and I was always getting yelled at and written up and forcibly ejected. So it was a good time for all. God, what have we done? That was the time where the reason I was getting chewed out is because I think it was my friend Obsenator had like we had like these little fridges. That's how you know like we were in the spoiled ass Air Force. We had these little mini fridges in our dorms, and he had a gallon of milk that he had just forgotten about for like a year. Literally, there were like umbilical coils of shit forming in this milk. It was grotesque, right? It looked like something from like a carnival sideshow, just because it had just been sitting in this fridge for so long, and everything had curdled, and it was like on the verge of exploding. And you're like, God, what are we gonna do with this milk? And it must have been Senator's idea. He's like, let's throw it onto the formation grounds. There's like this dais where like they would stand and yell at us. Well, we stood around like a pack of fucking idiots. And so he just climbed up to the roof and flung it down there, and it just exploded everywhere. And you're like, and the next day, it looked like every bird on the earth had thrown up down there, and the smell was just ratchet. Like that smell literally was, I think, peeling paint off of the side of the barracks, and like the sergeant, I think he was like must have been like a master sergeant or like somewhere beneath chief mastical, and maybe he was I think he was a techno sergeant. Is just this look on his face as he's trying to yell at us about keeping our dinguses clean or whatever the fuck we're supposed to do, and he's like standing there, and he's like, who did this? We're all gonna stand here until so whoever did this comes forward. And so all these people are standing there for like an hour staring at him, and then finally he's like looking around. He's like, "Where's ZYZ?" Because I wasn't in the formation. I was asleep. I had slept through the formation, so they had to send a runner to come and get me. And I had to like stumble out there, like half dressed and everything, just not giving a fuck. And he's like, and like I'm like turning to the guys next to me in the formation. I'm like, "Yo, why are we fucking standing here?" Like, shut up. And I like turn to the next guy. Why are we fucking standing here? And he's like, shut up. And then finally, I know the guys, I'm not going to name the sergeant that did it. He like looks at me and he's like, we are standing here until the person who did this comes forward. And I was just like, what? Well, you know I did it. I mean, who do you fucking think it was? Like, why are y'all idiots standing here? And oh my God, it was just fucking people are laughing and everything. Like trying not, it's so hard not to laugh. And then he called me up there to like yell at me and everything. And that's where he spat right in my fucking face without meaning to. He literally was just so upset about the fact that I had thrown a gallon of rancid milk onto the formation grounds for no reason. Like he just couldn't understand why we did the things that we did. He's a nice guy too. Like he used to take people who were like I know because like in the early days of the Air Force, I used to volunteer. We would like go to these orphans, the war orphans homes, and like play with these kids and like help do yard work and stuff like that for all these military widows. I shit you not, they used to live on Fort Ord, and like he was the one that organized that. And he was involved in like the chaplaincy and shit like that. He's like a really nice guy, but he was just in direct authority over me, and I made him hate it every moment of every day. Oh, God. That was some of the most fun time that I ever fucking had. It is so fun to be in a situation where every single thing you do gets you in trouble. If you are the kind of person who likes being in trouble. Oh, I did so much dirt there. All right, anyhow. So now you have some of the backstory on why this story is the way that it is. A flick of spittle struck me in the eye as XEROS screamed in my face. I winced, turning my face slightly aside. Turning slightly aside. What an error. I was certain he would clobber me for it. But XEROS didn't hit me. At least not right away. I blinked and struggled to regain my bearing. He was looking at me a way no other drill ever had. It froze me in place. It was a look of concern. The man honestly hadn't meant to spit in my eye. It was an accident. Yeah, this is italicized. In that indelible moment, I realized we were losing the war. The endless drills, the sermons, the self-critique sessions. It was all pointless. It didn't matter if the latrine was spotless or spewing raw sewage until the barracks were ankle deep. We were losing. XEROS knew. He hid it behind his endless scorn, the fixation on cleanliness, the obsession with order. But the mask had slipped. Now I knew, and I could never forget. I love this section right here. I love that from just like the fact that he's like, "Ooh, didn't mean to spit in your fucking eye, there, guy." And this used to be the chapter where the story began before we needed to move the Dicta Bolke scene over here. But I'm all in on this little interaction, and throughout the course of the story, you'll see that a lot of the revelations are things that our protagonist is just inferring, right? He's just guessing what these people are going on, and in some cases, like it's not confirmed. A lot of the stuff that he infers. So there is some like I'm not sure if that falls into shades into unreliable narrator or if the character's just making bad assumptions on some of this. But a lot the story's taking place in this guy's head for the most part, and not in that bullshit. Like it was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine, like Heavy D and Salt and Pepper in the limousine. No, not in that kind of like bullshit way. But just like this is the point of view that we will maintain through the entire story. So. Mm. So this is like a pivotal moment that resonates with me, and we're only like a chapter in. So maybe this is a better book than I thought. Now I knew, and I could never forget. To break the tension, XEROS inhaled sharply through his nose and spat fully in my face. He followed up with a routine slap that whipped. Oh, yeah. He followed up with a slap that whipped my head hard starboard. I was so stunned I couldn't even feel it. Finished with me, XEROS moved down the line to the next prisoner and began to scream about a strand of hair he'd found in the airlock liner. This is the point where you realize that it's a space station, by the way. Airlock liner. And you don't know for sure that it's a space station, but that's where it starts to become clear. We're somewhere with an airlock. So we're on a spaceship, or we're on a submarine, or we're on something where pressure is a under pressure. So let's take a look at this paragraph. Finish with me. XEROS moved down the line to the next prisoner. He began to howl about a strand of hair he'd found in the airlock liner. I was reeling from the revelation, feeling like I could barely... I reeled from the revelation, feeling like I could barely feel. I reeled from the revelation. It was a struggle to stand. How could we be losing? Yeah, I think just reeling is like fucking too like yeah, like too much. How could we be losing? I wasn't stupid. Even as a prisoner locked in the windowless barracks, I'd suspected the war was going poorly. Our squadron was housed at the very edge of the station's habitat disk, but I could still feel it when a supply ship docked. The UNESCO freighters were enormous. The vibrations would hum through the entire station. The UNESCO freighters were enormous. Their vibrations hummed through the entire station. That feeling always filled me with dread, because for days after a docking, the drills would become doubly sadistic. The ships always brought bad news. When they swapped us to vat-grown rations, the drills told us it was punishment for our last inspection. But I could smell it on their breath as they were shouting in my face. They were eating the same swill as us. The supply lines had been cut. I struggled to remain standing. It was a struggle to remain standing. Remain standing. I don't like remain standing there. I struggled to stay on my feet. No, I don't like that. Yeah. Oh, that's fine. Let's not get too deep into it there. Okay. So here also we're getting deeper into the like, oh shit, everything's going wrong with this war. Because a lot of this is about losing a war, and the kind of like pervasive sense of like 1945, everything falling apart. That's a period that like really interests me in like Imperial Japan and like late Vietnam and like definitely the Reich to last 1,000 years and everything. The moment where people like that 1989 moment where everybody looks around and is like, fuck this empire, and it just all falls apart. Because I think in my lifetime we'll see that for America, which is going to be a banging time for everybody. You might be witnessing it now with like the stock market falling apart. Loving it. The drills used to have radios. I'm sure of it. They used to chatter with each other incessantly, coordinating training, calling in injuries, and speculating on what might be. This is kind of a. They used to chatter with each other incessantly, coordinating training, calling in lunch, and coordinating training, calling in injuries, and speculating on what might be for lunch. Fuck. This is such like a run-on sentence, but it doesn't fix it to like cut that into a sentence fragment. They used to chat. Oh, you know what this? Bam, fixed. They used to chatter with. Oh, it's a. I think it's a semicolon, not a. This is like a list of things, right? List of things breaking up clauses. I honestly don't. I don't know off the top of my head. This is a thing that Bradius would fucking know, but he's not available. He's still around. I think he's working on his dissertation or some crazy shit like that. Let's leave it at a semicolon. I think it's more. It's like such a list that I think you need a colon. But that looks wrong on the page to me. I don't know. When an inmate did something especially stupid, they would get on the horn and guffaw about it with the other drills. Dills. For a list, it's a colon. All right, let's call that like a list of we're like listing the things that they would chatter with each other, incessantly coordinating training, verb noun, calling in injuries, verb possession noun, and speculating. Yeah, okay, like a bunch of verb nouns. That resonated in me. They were laughing at us in a private way, but they did it while we were standing right in front of them, letting us know we didn't matter at all. I like that. We don't want that italicized because like it's creepy, right? It's a little creepy that this guy is like quasi getting off on being diminished. So it's in the same class of like thoughts like up here where he does how could we be losing? But I don't want to draw attention to it in the same way. But here you start to get more into like the psyche of Trader. He's like, I like that, right? And a lot of this story is him like coming to terms with exactly what he is, which is like this guy, he's not a regular person for the most part. But after a colon, you need, oh, yeah, I'll go with that. All right, so I'm going to give you 2. No, I'm going to give you 1 because you're in the lead. Sorry. That's how it works, man. It's lonely at the top. I like that. And I like this. I like that. Like we're just peppering in parts, slowly revealing like the depths of this guy. It'd be one thing if I just said, the character comes out and like, as a brony and a sadomasochist and a Democrat, I think that, but instead it's more fun for those traits to like emerge organically throughout the course of the story. And it's like everything that we do is like trying to shade into show not tell. Needs a comment after one day the radios were gone. Oh yeah, no, I would have caught that if I wasn't fucking jerking myself off over that. Bam. 3-point lead. One day the radios were all gone. 2 of the softer drills weren't seen again afterward. A few members of my training flight were pulled out and permanently reassigned as gophers. I love this term right here, gophers. We were told it was a reward. But why had they rewarded the most useless lumps in the flight? Why did they pass over me? So when we use flight here, flight is like very much a Air Force term. And this is, I would just tell you now, this is like, they're really more of a Navy here. It would be more like of a naval, like much of the terminology, like where he says hard starboard here, much of the terminology that they're using is like naval terminology. And I just foresee that being like, it's just kind of classic in science fiction that they use, they like bridge and other naval terms have made their way into there. But when they refer to like their group, they talk about like training flights and squadrons and stuff like that. So these guys would be like kind of like sort of space naval. What was the Navy? They call them the guys like fucking aviators or some horseshit like that. But it's kind of like a confusing mishmash of that terminology, and I'm aware. I'm not gonna fix it. But why had they rewarded the most useless lumps in the flight? Why did they pass over me? It didn't make sense, but little did. Despite all the signs that things were going poorly, before XEROS spit in my eye, I truly believed we were winning the war. Oh, yeah. So we'll make it like a conditional here. That works a little bit better. So, despite all the signs that things were going poorly, until XEROS spit in my eye, I truly believed we were winning the war. We had to. For 3 formations a day, the drills barked at us that victory was destiny, and it was imperative we all did our utmost. Oh, God. It was imperative I do my utmost for the cause. I like utmost. You don't get to say that enough. In World War II, the B-17 were called ships. Yeah, I mean, they called them like airships back in the day, too. Like Flying Fortress. And at one point, it was just like some whole new shit. Like, what are these fools doing up there in the air, dropping them bombs on us? God damn. It was imperative I do my utmost for the cause. The barracks had to be spick and span. So do you really think that they're going to be saying spick and span 500 years from now? Let's see if there's like a better adjective for this. We used to say this shit all the time in the service, but what does this even mean? And where did this come from? It was a brand of all-purpose household cleaner. Yeah, where did that phrase come from? What? Oh, this is crazy. Late 16th century, in the sense brand new, from spick and span new, emphatic extension of dialect, span new, from Old Norse span near, from span ship, spick, influenced by duck, spick splinter new, or splinter new. Oh, so in splinter new, it's like so like it's so new that the wood still has like some of the splinters. It hasn't been worn off. That is crazy. Originally from new as new wood chips. They're a spick splinter new. What? That's fucking wild. All right, so and Wikipedia actually has this as spick and span. Spick has very okay. So we need the K. I like that so much that I'm going to keep it in the story, and we're going to fix it so that it is. Spick is also. I think it may be accepted here. But yeah, I had no idea that. So what does just spick with a K mean there? Now rarely used outside of spick and span. A side of bacon, a floret of lavender, a nail or a spike, or a thatching spar. Yeah, I wonder why that fell out of favor. That's kind of neat. I never would have known that. This is why I love these editing streams. So yeah, who would have thought spick span new, spick splinter new, added that old Dutch right there about the splinter. And so logic points out that military jargon has longevity far beyond normal. Yeah, like shit like reveille, right? Like all these French terms that we're still using from the time of Napoleon, just because I don't know, military people are so fucking weird in the way that they talk. All their initialisms that make it into whatever. God, yeah, we just don't deserve to be alive. All right, but so I like that. I like that little diversion right there. The barracks had to be spick and span. Our answers during self-critique had to be immediate and immaculate. I don't like immaculate here. Yeah, I don't want. Yeah, let's just do instantaneous. I want to. Let's see. Impeccable is the word that I want, not immaculate. There we go. Our answers during self-critique had to be instantaneous and impeccable. Why? Because we used immaculate. Immaculate is a word that you can use once in a book, maybe twice if Jesus is also in the book. But it's one that really it's a powerful word, and it hasn't been diluted within the language, and you just don't get to like flog people with it. And we used it earlier in this chapter. And also impeccable is more like that's an impeccable answer, young Aurenheimer. We had to have perfect faith in the Hezo at all time. Doubters would be disposed of. We're ending a sentence with a preposition, and yeah, we're gonna keep it. I like the way that goes. It's grammatically incorrect, but I don't care. What choice did I have? I don't like what choice did I have. Yeah, we don't need that. Oh shit, there's a Spathy wall. We are running out of 3-syllable I words then. Well, no, that's plenty more. Yeah, many. There's so many I words out there. The constant drilling, the sleep deprivation, and the isolation leached the color out of everything. The constant drilling, the sleep deprivation, and the isolation had leached the color out of everything. My memories of my life before I was captured were as thin and insubstantial, another I word, as soap bubbles. I think I would have even forgotten my crime if the drills hadn't made it my name. I believe with all my heart that I deserved this, that the punishment was just. This was a war for survival of the human race. Our sins would be redeemed. Victory was destiny. We simply had to do what we were told. I could do what I was told, but I couldn't forget the look on Sergeant XEROS' face. In the weeks that followed, I began to appreciate why he was so vicious. It wasn't just that we were stupid and incompetent, though we certainly were. Sir, this is a little redundant here. It wasn't just that we were stupid and incompetent, though we certainly were. Oh, I don't know whether or not to keep that. Let me think about it. Let's keep it in. It wasn't just for. Hold on, let's read it both ways. In the weeks that followed, I began to appreciate why he was so vicious. It wasn't just that we were stupid and incompetent, though we certainly were. XEROS envied our ignorance. Okay. It wasn't just that we were stupid and incompetent. XEROS envied our ignorance. Yeah. We need like a little something in between those two notes. It was a terrible burden to know that this was all a farce, that we were losing. I was filled with nostalgia for the faith I could never recapture. I knew, if XEROS even suspected I had figured him out, he would have me executed. I had to feign the zeal I no longer felt. I worked harder than the others and volunteered for all the worst duties. Any time a drill addressed me, I would panic, certain my time had come. It was exhausting. Finally, something inside me broke. I began to wish the drills would just kill me and get it over with. I started to coast. I expected to be dead within a week. But every time I thought my time was up, needs comma, anytime a drill addressed me. Oh yeah, that's a comma. Look at this. Look at what's happening to you there, Spathy. Yeah, shout out to Big Spathy Wah right there. He's got 4 points on you. This might be his book right there. He could be A#1. Doing good, needing a nap though. Well, I'm sorry, I'm keeping you from it. Anytime a drill addressed me, I would panic, certain my time had come. But every time I thought I was done for, some other inmate screwed up worse. They broke the rules, they missed their milestones, they said stupid things during self-critique. We all had to line up outside the airlock and watch their executions. Through the thick porthole window, I watched their mute pleas. I scrutinized their weeping faces for any sign they'd figured it out too. I never found it. They hadn't realized we were losing. They were just weak. I was a coward and a fraud. I was a traitor, but I was never weak. One by one, the others were given to the void. 40 other inmates had been stuffed into the foul prison barge with me as we made the long journey. Okay. This is... 40 other inmates have been stuffed into the fountain. Yeah. Oh, that looks terrible. Yeah, we know. Well, we can just cut that too. I'm going to give you a point because that too just need to be cutted. Cutted. Cut. Oh, the lead is narrowing right there. 1 by 1, the others were given to the void. 40 other inmates had been stuffed in the foul prison barge with me. I was the last one alive. I kept waiting for my turn, but it never came. "44 inmates had been locked up with me. Okay. Oh, the page is up if I need to... Okay, so let's need auth reminder. Let's do that after the stream right here because we're kind of on a roll. But yeah, we'll start implementing that tomorrow, and then we'll post up the scores from today because I want to do like the authenticating and so forth off stream. Because right now, when you use the scoreboard, it does this. Lol. So I don't know if the URL changed or what. This is so cool though. Uh, I'm sure it's killing the CPU. But I do want to use those score things. That's so cool. Please thank Mayheim for me for implementing that, and he'll get a big thank you in God, like the last 3 books there. Don't let me forget to put his name in the thank you page. But yeah, I can't say enough about how helpful Spathy was on this, like above and beyond just the editing. Like he did the ebook formatting for a few different books that I've worked on. He's just like a true G and a real one. So, all right. One by one, the others were given to the void. I had been imprisoned in the rings of Kilu with 45 other inmates. 39 of them survived the long journey in the foul prison barge. "39 of them survived the long journey in the wretched prison barge. I was the last survivor. I was the last one alive. I kept waiting for my turn, but it never came. For 3 beautiful months, I was left alone. I haunted the empty barracks, ecstatic there was no one left who could get me in trouble. I ate double rations alone in a cafeteria that was meant to operate constantly, seating 1,000 people per shift. The drills still pretended to find things wrong, so they had a... One second. The drill still pretended to find mistakes, so they had an excuse to berate me. But their hearts were... Yeah. Their hearts weren't in it. The beatings stopped. There was no point without an audience. Let's take a look. Oh, yeah. I think Of Us is huge there. I had been imprisoned in the rings of Kilu with 45 other inmates. 39 of us survived the long journey. Yeah, that is definitely a point for logic right there. That's a good correction right there. So yeah. Oh wow, there's a bunch of. He's got to get another point there. We lost our hyphen. I think I had the hyphen there at some point. Yeah, us is so much better than them right there. Even though the character feels other, he's just part of that group of whatever. And this is the first mention of his homeworld right there. So I was about to just cut it, but I like what we've done here a little bit better. The drill still pretended to find mistakes. Oh, here, let's get logic. It's just 2. Big lucky 13 right there. Mm-hmm. The beatings stopped. There was no point without an audience. It was better than freedom, if only because I couldn't remember any longer what freedom was like. Even in my dreams, I was still trapped in the unchanging gray barracks. It couldn't last. Yeah, I don't need that part. Unbeknownst to me, there were other training lights being winnowed down in the other sectors of the station. Mine had been the fastest to eliminate its undesirables, so my barracks became the staging area for the next flight. One by one, other survivors arrived, and my lovely solitude ebbed away. The drills formed us into a squadron, and the second phase began. Boom! All right, what do we got there? A semicolon for the beating stopped? I think I broke that into 2 sentences. Oh, I don't want a semicolon. Yeah, I'll give you fucking semicolon. I hate those things. Yeah. The drills still pretended to find mistakes to berate me for, but their hearts weren't in it. I like that better. The beatings stopped. There was no point without an audience. It was better than freedom, if only because I can. Okay. Couldn't last, blah, 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 blah. Second phase began. All right, so this is where you get to meet Trader and get like a little idea about what he's dealing with right here. And you get the big revelation that they are losing the war. So chapter 1 is, I forgot, when did we start? What time did the stream start? Can anybody see on there a thing? Let's see how long this chapter was. I think we only got like about 1,300 words or so. Yeah, 1,700 words right there. So I think Murderous is going to need a bit more work. 75 minutes ago. Only 116? Yeah, that's not enough. We could try. How do you guys feel? Do you have time for another chapter, or Logic, do you need to go to bed? So 1705 if we start now. So it's a relatively short session, but I'm trying to only do like a chapter a day if we can, so I don't get all burned out. Yeah, let's call it for the day. I don't want to like shoot my wad here. I need to stay up so I'm good to go. Let's do another chapter then. Yeah, so real quick, let's reflect on this chapter. How do you feel about what you're hearing here with Trader? Does this, I mean, the big question is, you read the intro. If you read this chapter, does it pose like questions that make you want to go on reading? Like obviously to me, because I cared enough to write the rest of it, I want to know like how to get into this predicament and what's going to happen to the character. I like this is all set up for the most part. You know, we're saying this person is here, this whatever. We introduce this dramatic relationship with him and XEROS that I want to see. Like, you know, something terrible is going to happen between these two at some point. We paint a good picture that everything is going fucking wrong. There's like some violence to like keep it going. I would sleep with Trader at this point. Well, that's good. That's good. Thank you, Spathy. I like this background ration. Okay, so I feel like I have a good feeling for where he's at. There's a reasonable amount. I mean, so much of this is just internalized. We don't have like a good setting for all this. I think if we're missing one thing, we lack like a concrete detail that really like cements what it feels like to be at the station. But we get some of those later. So I guess I feel like it's you know, a lot of exposition in this whole thing. But chapter 2 is Murderous. All right, so I'm going to take, I'm just going to get a drink and walk around, and then we'll begin on chapter 2. We'll try to get both of these in the same ass day. Be right back. Okay, cool. So let me look at some of this feedback. That feedback that I get is really just helps us go. Okay. He seems pretty brainwashed, and so it makes me wonder how and why with the treason. You don't get to find that out until late in the book. It keeps you wondering, but he does say, anytime a drill address me. Yeah. Ooh, we go way deep in the book. No, that does not need a semicolon. I don't think. They're too related. Uh, you could do a dash there. Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't see a an M dash there. No, this is a terrible sentence though. I mean, it's good to call attention to it. Mm-hmm. Mm. There we go. I like that better. Every time a drill singled me out. In fact, whenever a drill singled me out, I was certain my time had come. Because I think like it's very relatable. Like every time somebody talks to you, you're certain you're like if you're at a job and you're like pretty sure you're gonna get fired, like every fucking time, like I've felt for my entire life because of my radio career. Yeah, I'm gonna give Spathy some points there because I think it was just like a bad sentence in general. And while I don't agree with the proposed fix, I do think that we gain something by fixing that. And I didn't want to lose the like kind of like mounting because I think that's relatable, and I think we've all been there at like a shitty job where didn't know if you were about to get axed. So I think chapter 2 is short, but let's give it like an hour. Do a five. I don't know who Keith David is. Is it gonna pop up nudity if I search him? Let's find out. Wait, he's the guy from Halo. Well, look at this character. Hire him just for that expression. What the fuck? Oh, you know that he has just done some terrible shit to have that expression that he got away with. Like, uh, King in Platoon and Child's in the Thing. Oh, he was in Dead Presidents too. Uh, what's his voice sound like? Was he in the military? Plays a sergeant major. He was the voice of somebody, and all right, so he must just sound like a military dude. That'd be cool. Like, I like the sound of that. I don't know what his voice sounds like though, but I don't think Zeros is swinging like that. Honestly, I don't think that we can afford that character. Um, but you know, honestly, I can't afford to complete the sentence. All right, so murderous. What is your crime? I killed the future. What is your name? Murderous. You are empty, Sergeant XEROS would say, concluding the ritual. Then he'd punch Murderous in the stomach, hard enough to drive the air out of her lungs. I must have watched her sobbing for breath on the floor a dozen times. I was always a little too interested, and the others could tell. Everyone was required to watch, but only I wanted to. I knew it repulsed the others, but I didn't care. There were so few things in this place I truly enjoyed, and seeing that cunt get belted was always the highlight of my month. Murderous was beyond stubborn. When the Hezo, and what do we have here? So this comes from Hezoshu, which is Chinese for commune. So in a lot of these places, when we have almost all of the words that we've invented here, I'll have taken some kind of Chinese, either from like Middle Mandarin or further back, and kind of changed it up a little bit. Just trying to get like a feel for how language might have permutated like 500 years from now. We're nowhere near the mark, by the way. Like it's not meant to be, I guess, anywhere close to what it actually might be like. But just the same, that's my process right there. But I understand, like 500 years from now, like language wouldn't even be intelligible, and like most probably these guys would be speaking from the way the story is written, some like new version of fucking Cantonese or something like that. I don't know. But anyhow, Murderous was beyond stubborn. When the Hezo ordered her to keep her baby, she declined. Openly. All she had to do was feign complications like everyone else. But she just had to take a stand. I don't know who hated her worse, the inmates or the drills. The drills hated her for her crime. The squadron hated her for getting us in trouble. This should be 2 sentences. We soaked up so much collective punishment for that woman and her opposition-defiant disorder. Shoutouts to Incog. She was one of those people who had to test every boundary, but she was also a slow learner and never shut up. It was a truly unfortunate combination for everyone. I got the feeling the drills would have yeah, yeah, it's just so much cleaner that way. The all drills. I got the feeling all the drills wanted to execute her, but someone above them had overruled. There we go. I got the feeling all the drills wanted to execute her, but they've been overruled. So I don't like that we lost by someone above them. But who else would fucking overrule them? Obviously. I do like the allusion to like another force within the whole thing. But I know that we never really resolve the intricacies of the command in this situation here. And it's something that we can work on here. We can like we can add anything we want or take anything we want away from the story. So we could get into how the command structure of the space station actually works, but at a later point. For now, let's deal with this chapter. But it is something to like keep in mind. Actually, hold on. I'm going to make a note here. Okay. It's not necessary that we have like a whole chain of command like plotted out where everybody could see it, but it is one of those things that you could put like a fucking org chart or something like that at the beginning of the book to just give like a little bit more reality to the situation. You could put in like an org chart or like a roster list for the squadron. At the beginning of the book, you could have like a star map and things like that. I like little things like that. Like if you look at the book for Space Tarts, which you can't because I haven't published it because I didn't record the audiobook because I'm fucking lazy. But if you look at it, it's full of like neat shit. Like each of the guys' helmet heralds is at the beginning of their chapter, and there's a roster of all the different tards and a glossary at the back. I love those little. Those are the things that I love physical books, and those are like some of the things that I really like. Yeah, so Logic loves maps. I love a fucking good map at the beginning of a story. I should have like a subway map in Lemon Maybe at the very beginning of it. That'd be cool. Oh, I want that. Um, yeah, let me see if I can get like a vector subway map and then just plot out what stop all the different things in the story happen at. That'd be cool. Um, yeah, I like that. I'm gonna have to record in the snow today. Woof. When the drills are unhappy, it means the rest of us are miserable. The week murderess joined the squadron, I went to bed every night expecting to find her strangled in the morning. No one did it. I think we were all hoping someone else would. In her defense, things were rigged against murderess from the start. She was a late arrival, replacing an inmate who died from an accident. The squad was undergoing ship acclimation, which was an especially awful time. We were all recovering from our surgeries, irritable and prone to bouts of senseless rage. So a lot of info dropped in here. Ship acclimation and recovering from their surgeries. And we just slip all that shit under the radar. Like maybe you didn't even read this paragraph. The other kind of neat part about this here is that like the reason why she's in prison is like obviously because she had an abortion and was like, look at me and so forth. And the Hezo is not cool with that at all. Which I think comes up a little bit later in the story. And it just tells you like a little bit about their regime and like the level of control that they exercise over people's lives, and like the idea that even 500 years from now, like people are still fighting this stupid battle. Oh, well, let me divide my audience real quick. Acclimation was where the drills would seal us inside our ships and check for adverse reactions. Not from us, of course. If we got rashes or our faces swelled up and we couldn't breathe, that was just too bad. It was the ships the drills were worried about. Being sealed inside the Yama was the most unpleasant thing I've ever experienced. It felt like I was stuck against the roof of a giant's mouth, and he was trying to scrape me off with his tongue. The ships were built to keep us in homeostasis. Comfort was irrelevant. Each was supposed to be molecularly keyed to its pilot. But like everything the Hezo did, there was a tendency to fail. Murderess's predecessor. I like this line. Murderess's predecessor. All right? That's fun to fucking say right there. Murderess's predecessor was an inmate named Toucher, a slug-tongued outcast no one liked. I can remember his slobbery voice as he pleaded with the drills. He begged them not to make him get back into the ship. Of course, this only made the drills seal him inside for twice as long. When the drills popped the Yama's hatch, they didn't pull Toucher out as much as pour him out. His ship had closed around him like a fist and crushed him into a paste. We all saw it. Worse, we all smelled it. Nobody slept that night, but there was nothing to do but pray it didn't happen to us. The drills were on edge too. They must have caught hell for crushing that poor fool. They had to find a replacement for him. Let's look at this. But like anything the Hezo did, what do we want here? Like anything the Hezo did, but like everything that I think everything is better. Anything. But like everything the Hezo did, there was a tendency to fail. I like that. I think that's a small change, but it's one that I like. Ooh, welcome to them double digits. So Toucher was a late addition to this thing. Previously, this inmate wasn't named, and it may be like a little trite to have somebody who we like imply that they're a pedophile, have like a big slobbery boy and so forth there. Um, so that may just be like a little hack, because I think it's like a kind of a trope and so forth. But I also don't want to spend too much time thinking about. Let's really get inside the head of this pedophile character. So Murderess was one of the gopher washouts. She had a background in logistics, so they assigned her to assist the station's quartermaster. Well, why do we need quarter? Yeah, we don't need station. It must have been a rude awakening, thinking she'd miraculously survived only to be sucked back into the nightmare. They had to build a new ship for her, so she had nothing to do while we were acclimating. It wasn't exactly endearing to see her watching from the sidelines as we all suffered. I tried to empathize, to be nice to her. I was the only one. Many times I offered her a bit of advice or a shoulder to cry on. She declined. I was attracted to her, and she wasn't attracted to me. Story of my life. This is a short chapter right there. Um, so this is one of the first characters that we introduce right there. And if there's a weakness in this story, it's that the main character doesn't relate super well to other people. So the other characters are pretty thin. Like this is just like a very expository chapter about Murderess. And I don't think Murderess is ever relatable. We don't ever get like an idea that she's a human being there. So if I was going, if I was like putting on my editor hat, um, I might say like, why are the women in your story? There's only one woman in this entire story, and it's Murderess, and she is not. She's not a character that is relatable. We don't see like her hopes or her dreams or so forth. Ultimately, this is a story about men. Um, and we might consider like, do we want to have this character in the story, because literally she's just a piece of meat for the entire fucking story, um, which I'm a little okay with. And just I want to like, I'm aware that this is the case, that this character is not well defined and that she doesn't have many positive traits. But I will tell you that none of the members of the squadron will have significant positive traits, except for one guy who we're getting into next chapter, Pirate. And the next chapter is really fucking long, so we're not going to do it. Um, but the only person that he has any positive feelings about at all is Pirate, and everybody else he kind of hates. And so it's a very self-centered main character. Um, but this is something to consider as we go along. Like, do we want our only? Because like 75% of the people who will pick up this book and try to read it are women, right? They're just those are the people who actually read and so forth. And the story is not gay enough to attract them. It's like not like like meat craves salt or whatever that book was. Um, so if we want like as a composition to have something that's relatable and interesting to them, we're not doing ourselves any favor. Also, like, I don't think that I'm going to try to sell this one to a publisher, so we don't have to appeal to people in that way. Um, but it's worth thinking about there. I was just about to suggest a line about how her tits look in her shirt, because those military undershirts make tits look great without a bra. I don't think we ever talk about her tits there, and you'll see why too as you get to know Trader a little bit better and like the things that he is into and so forth. He's a weird one. All right, so that's 24 13 words, and let's do our 24 30. And can I get a count of how spoilers, Trader is a feet guy and he's not. He is not. God, imagine if the whole book was just written where Trader was Effie. Okay, can anybody give me our time since the beginning of the stream? If only my eyes were good enough to see across the whole. Man, 100 minutes exactly. Okay, so cool. 140. That's cool. Okay, so we're climbing up there. Like eventually we'll get to where we're doing like 3 hours a day and so forth. Like I could continue from like if the next chapter was as short as the murderous chapter, we could get into it. Murderous chapter is really really short. But basically the structure of the next several chapters is we just talk about one of the different members of the squadron and each one of them, and we use it a little bit to explain like things about that character and things about like pirate is the important one. So let me. What is your crime? I deserted my post. I stole from the collective prosperity sphere. I attacked vital shipments and jeopardized the war effort. I plundered and reaved. What is your name? Pirate. So we get to get into Pirate tomorrow, and he's kind of a fascinating character in his own right. Like he's the Steinbeckian character in this whole thing. Well, thank you for joining us on day 2. I feel like this is really promising. There, I'm gonna put some thought into whether we want to flesh out the murderous character at all. Well, probably we won't. Just out of like sheer laziness, you know. Like I'm not trying to win a Hugo with this story. I'm not saying that we don't want to make it the best story that we possibly can, but I think this one might just be for the fellas in the way that Space Tards is. Like I didn't put any effort into giving Space Tards appeal to women because when women hear that title, they stop talking to me. Like, they just fucking that's it. So other like writing related news is that I hollered at an old friend of mine that I used to work with in publishing for advice on how to pitch Lemon Maybe to an agent, and she gave me some great advice and like made some resources available to me that are super helpful and so forth. She's a real one. But so yeah, I just been kind of like floundering where I'm like, I don't know how to fucking pitch this thing to agents. And I'm realizing more and more that I like need to pitch it to agents because I may not be in New York to try and sell it myself, and it would be great if I sold this thing and I could get some kind of an advance or royalties or something like that happening to propel me on my long journey. So yeah, like I'm working on that pitch letter today. um, I think it's like a little too personal to like craft a pitch letter on the stream. But what I may do is if I'm really happy with it, tomorrow I may, actually not tomorrow, after I get it edited by somebody, I may like read off what a pitch letter looks like and like what I'm trying to do. And like some of the things that I do to try and appeal to an agent. But I have to tell you, like I'm not very well qualified to write pitch letters to agents. I can't be like, this is what works and so forth, because nobody has ever bought one of my pitches. The closest I came was Rapasaurus actually made it into like the 3rd or 4th round of consideration at Daw Books. And then finally, William Stampfel, who is the editor over there, he's like, this story is long and fucking meandering. It is. He's like, characters are frequently saved by Deus Ex Machina, where some demon pops up out of nowhere to save their lives. They are, yeah. And he's like, and I don't want to publish this fucking book. And which is like, this is before we started, just call it Space Mostly Peaceful Looters. Space protesters, y'all. Fucking black rights and outer space, which is one of my favorite Outcast skits of all time, right there. Hell yeah, man! First there were some pimps, then there were some aliens talking about some black rights and outer space. I ain't fucking with them no more. What's that? I think it's from. It's not Aquemini. It's the album before. No, it was probably Aquemini, where they did that skit. So if you're an Outcast fan, as I am, that cast. We got that good email. All right, anyhow. But see, I'm going to work on that letter today. If I can get somebody to look at it and tell me yay or nay, I'll just show you kind of like the kind of shit that I send around to people when I'm trying to sell a book and so forth. And one of the things that I've learned is like like what you can sell and what you can't sell. Like I would never even dream of trying to sell space tards to whatever. And oh yeah, I'm gonna have it gandered at by the publishing person first there, Spathy. But I'm definitely you can. I'll check. Like we can get your input too if you see any crazy shit going on there. But yeah, honestly, like everybody who worked on Lemon Maybe and the Electric Lady, if you read through that book or are familiar with it, so can I tell you my impossible dream? Like fucking, there have been 24 people who have won both the Hugo and the Nebula Awards. These are the major science fiction prizes, and if you win either of them, your like fate is sealed. Basically, you're going to be able to get additional books published. It's the biggest accolade that you can win in speculative fiction. I'm biased, right? Like I put 7 years of time into Lemon Maybe and the Electric Lady. I worked on it as hard as I possibly could. I think that book could and should win the Nebula and the Hugo Awards. Just like off base. You know, I read the other Hugo and Nebula winners every year. I think it's good enough. I don't think it's a realistic goal. I understand that that's like a slightly, yeah, like fucking Orson Scott Card won this. N.K. Jemisin won this, who's in like the fucking writers group that I'm in Brooklyn. It can be done, but only I can do it. So there's a demographics problem with my authorship, isn't it? I think that work is strong enough that it doesn't fucking matter that I don't have a vagina, but I am willing to pretend to be transgendered and transracial to win these prizes. Like I'll straight up spout any. No, I mean the reason like I couldn't win is like somebody just has to like scratch the fucking surface of what I am and be like, oh God. But if I could sneak it under the fucking radar, man, if we like got that one through. Anyhow, that's my dream. And I honest to God, I believe that book is good enough. I think it's a magical fucking book, and I think it deserves to be read by every person on the earth, compulsory. So sleep perfect comma usage. Lol. I'm still finding errors in that book. By the way, we need to get it proofread. But that's something that a publisher would do. Woke adjacent protagonist novels. Yeah. What is it? I mean, the protagonist in fucking The Right to Bear Arms was gay. It was a woman in Hawks at the Diner. It was like a woman of color, white being a color, with severe depression and grief and gravid and so forth. Let's see. I don't know. There's a lot of black people in Lemon Maybe in the Electric Lady. It's set in fucking New York. You got Puerto Ricans and fucking Chineses and Dominicans and fucking demons and Jews and it's like it really is like a tremendous mismatch of different characters and so forth. But anyhow, as I'm writing this pitch letter, in my mind is I want to win those 2 fucking awards. Realistically, can I do it? No. But sometimes you have to like know that something is like impossible and outside of your grasp, and just be like, I fucking want that, Try A Woman of Penis. I gotta go further. I honestly like I want to believe that it's not just about playing like intersectional politics or whatever there, and that like they're for a truly great book. It can just bypass all that shit. Like my hope with all this has been that I don't check like all the boxes that I'm supposed to. I don't network the way that I'm supposed to. I don't schmooze the way that I'm supposed to. I don't hold the opinions that I'm supposed to. But I want the writing to be strong enough that I can just fucking get away with it anyway. I want to be like so concrete in myself that I can succeed in spite of not playing the game, and that's very unrealistic. It's like a childish viewpoint. Everybody eventually plays the game, um, in some way. It's just the degree to which you're compromised. But so far, you can see with the imminent publication of Space Tards. So far, I've been playing the game my way, and I haven't succeeded. But Dave Chappelle won an Emmy, so maybe the turn is here. I hope he's okay. I heard he's got that COVID. Yeah, like imagine how shitty it would be if he fucking died. Yeah, he's always been like one of my. I'll tell you something interesting about Dave Chappelle while I'm just like rattling off shit here. I used to think that he was like so fucking untouchable as a comedian, right? Like his sets are just so perfect. He's like has so much power and so in command of his audience. But man, I watched some of the bootleg streams from where he was just like popping up at concerts, where he's just like working out his material, and he was like real fucking choppy, Like it was actually helpful to me to see this guy when he's not like Netflix special polish, where like every misstep has been edited out and so forth, and to just see him like struggling and being kind of lame on stage, and realizing that like part of the creative process of being a comedian, even when you're been in a career for like a number of years, is like, yeah, some years you have like shitty material. Like Carlin had fucking decades where he had nothing going on, where like because he wrote a new set like every year, and some years were just trash from what I've heard. Um, but like other stuff has just stood this test of time, and it's like it's amazing forever. So yeah, that was helpful to just when I'm looking at a book like Xeros, where I'm like, yeah, this is like 75 work from me here, and I want to get it to like 85, 90 with this edit. Um, and and just like it's helpful to know not everything that you write is going to be a like slam dunk home run. And the other part of it too is if you think about like a Clockwork Orange, very frequently stuff that you'd think is just like he thought that book was like a throwaway. He was just writing it to make some money, and he's like, oh, I'll just throw in a bunch of violence and shit. That'll be cool. And he just wanted to fool around with like NADSAT. Those were Anthony Burgess's ideas, and he's written about this extensively. And then nobody can remember anything else that he wrote. He's a great writer too. He's like fantastic. But that was what resonated with people. People wanted the ultra violence, and he actually grew to hate his own creation, especially when they took out the final fucking chapter in the U.S. version, which is horseshit. But yeah, shout out to our boy Carl. All right, let me stop babbling. But thank you guys for your work today. I think we did good work. I'm happy with this, and I'm excited to like introduce you guys to Big Pirate coming up there. And yeah, hopefully this character Trader is not too abrasive because you're stuck with him for another 100 and oh come on, do some fucking math. Why don't you? It should be so simple for me to do this math, but I'm just tired. 181 pages more to deal with all Trader every single page. 191? No, it's not 191 pages. We're 17 pages, so 181. Oh, shout outs to Forerunner Vladiqueer, who has probably caught the COVID. So good luck with that.